Hello everybody, here comes a review of our discussion on positive externalities. So here we're dealing with marginal external benefit. Marginal external benefit. Well, that happens to fall on someone other but people involved into consumption or production of a good. And to take this external benefit into account, we need to add it to marginal private benefit. So marginal private benefit plus marginal external benefit add up to give us something called MSB, or marginal social, of course. Social benefit. So this thing is a true assessment of the benefit to society resulting from production or consumption of this good. We discussed examples, things like research, education, bees that might pollinate flowers and orchards. All right, so now let's look at some diagrams here, because that's the main goal of this review, to make sure that I cover like the most challenging and most formal parts of this story. So let's see how it looks on a diagram. So as always, we start with the supply, which represents marginal private cost, and demand, that represents marginal private benefit. And as we know, markets always end up finding an equilibrium at the point where supply meets demand. And if there is no other benefit or cost, then this point also would be a point of allocative efficiency. But we know that in this case there is something else, and this something else is what we know as a marginal external benefit. So I'm drawing it as a separate curve here. But then we need to add it on top of marginal private benefit to end up with what we know as marginal social benefit. So basically what I do, I take like every point on MEB curve, and actually not the point, well, the height, this height, right? And move it or put it on top of our marginal private benefit curve. So that basically tilts our marginal private benefit even further. And this is how we come up with marginal social benefit curve. And this marginal social benefit curve again reflects the true or full benefit from consuming this good. So by the way, this is what? This is the distance between MSB and MB curves at any Q. Tell us what marginal external benefit is. So basically this distance is supposed to be the same. All right, so, well, given this marginal social benefit curve, which we're supposed to use when figuring out the point of allocative efficiency, we can find this point where marginal social benefit intersects marginal private cost. And that's the point of allocative efficiency, which again, as in case of negative externalities, is not the same as the market equilibrium. So in this case, markets actually provide too little because they fail to recognize this external benefit because it falls on someone else. But we do take it into account because it's part of the benefit that affects society. So, and therefore here, the point of allocative efficiency is actually larger than the point of market equilibrium. Or another way to put it, if markets are left on their own and if they just end up at the equilibrium that matches the intersection of supply and demand curves, then we will be missing the point of allocative efficiency, providing too little. And as always, when we're missing the point of allocative efficiency, we end up dealing with deadweight loss. So this area will be the area of deadweight loss. This is the lost surplus that we're losing because not enough of this good is being produced by the market. Again, because neither consumers nor producers realize that this good is actually more beneficial than it seems to them. So that's pretty much the graph that illustrates why we're dealing with inefficiency in this case. And next thing, so let's write it down. So inefficiency. In case of positive externality. I'm writing it down because I know quite a bit of people think that if there is a positive externality, then things should only get better. Unlike in case of negative externalities, where we figured out that there is a deadweight loss. So here we also have a deadweight loss. But to be exact, here we're dealing with deadweight loss from underproduction. When we talked about negative externalities, there was a deadweight loss from overproduction. All right, so next thing is to talk about what can be done to fix this problem. And we talked about vouchers, subsidies, and public provision. Well, let's see how vouchers and subsidies work. Public provision, we didn't really look at any diagrams. Basically, it's the case when government steps in to provide more of this good, if market is under-providing it. So our focus will be on vouchers and subsidies to see how that helps. So vouchers is the money that goes to consumers, and subsidies is the money that goes to producers. So again, let's draw a starting diagram, and this is MSB, maybe more like that, and here we go. So this is marginal cost, right, which is the same as supply. This is marginal benefit, which is demand, and this is marginal social benefit. So markets, well, that's the point of allocative efficiency, and market wants to be at the point where supply meets demand. So this is why the point of market equilibrium is not the same as the point of allocative efficiency. Okay, so we will need two of those diagrams. So I'm going to copy and paste it. Copy and paste. All right, and next thing we're gonna do is to see how we can use vouchers or subsidies to make sure that the market ends up at the point of allocative efficiency. And well, vouchers and actually subsidies is the opposite of taxes. So if you recall, when you're taking money from consumers, then demand curve shifts down. So, well, when you're giving people the money, then the opposite happens, which is an upward shift in the demand curve. And well, our goal is to move this equilibrium to this equilibrium. And we're gonna achieve it by shifting the demand curve. Now we can just basically shift this curve to see how far it should go. So let's see if this will work. Well, clearly not, because this point is not taking us far enough. So we're still not at the point of allocative efficiency. So we need to grab it and push it up until we reach this point. All right, and you actually can see, hopefully, by looking to this diagram, that the shift, the amount of magnitude of this shift is exactly the same as this distance. And what is this distance? It's marginal external benefit at the point of allocative efficiency, measured as a distance between MSB and MB. So MEB is MSB minus MB. I just rearranged the formula we saw earlier. This formula. All right, so that's basically it. We want to give consumers enough money per 1 unit to shift the demand curve up. So that will be D plus V. And the amount of money we want to give them per every unit they buy should be equal to marginal external benefit at the point of allocative efficiency, or graphically, this distance. All right, so this is how vouchers work. Subsidies is the money given to producers. So again, our goal is to move from this point to not actually this point, but generally speaking, we want to make sure that the equilibrium goes from this quantity to this quantity. Actually, the same idea was here. So it just happened that here we were moving to this point. Here we will not be moving to this point because we actually will be shifting supply curve down, right? Remember, when you're taking money from producers, you're shifting supply curve up because you're effectively increasing the marginal cost of producing and selling the stuff, which is effectively the same thing as shifting the curve to the left. So that's consistent with the expectation that tax will discourage supply. In fact, I can even draw this shift. So that will be the effect of taxation. But because we're doing the opposite, right, we're giving money to producers rather than taking it from them. So the opposite effect will be a shift of the supply curve down. And our goal is to keep shifting it until we push it to the point where demand meets supply, adjusted supply, right, at the point of allocative efficiency. So this position for the line, for the adjusted supply curve, will do the trick. So that will be the new point, actually the new equilibrium, and that's our goal, to make sure that we push one of the curves so that the new equilibrium matches the point of allocative efficiency. So remember, as we're taxing or giving subsidies or vouchers, we are adjusting equilibrium. We're not destroying it. Okay, so that will be S minus small s. So large S is for supply and small s is for the subsidy. Okay, so how much money should we give to producers? Well, again, we can notice that the magnitude of the shift that we're making here is exactly the same as this distance, which happens to be marginal external benefit, again at the point of allocative efficiency. So whether you're giving money to consumers as vouchers or you're giving money to producers as subsidies, you always want to make sure you give the amount per unit that is equal to marginal external benefit at the point of allocative efficiency. All right, so that's how vouchers and subsidies work to achieve allocative efficiency in case of positive externality. And I think here we will stop, because I think I already spent enough time and I explained like the most formal and challenging part of the story. All right, so thank you for your time. I'll talk to you next time.